Ever wondered why tax collectors were so despised in Jesus' time? It wasn't just about paying money. It was about a system that was crushing the very people Jesus came to serve. Let us dive into the hidden world of Roman taxation and how it shaped one of history's most radical messages. When the Romans took over, they didn't just bring roads and aqueducts, they brought an insatiable need for revenue. For the average person in Galilee, this meant a constant, suffocating burden. It started with direct taxes, like the tributum soli, a tax on agricultural land, and the tributum capitis, a head tax on every adult. Imagine working your family farm, and a significant portion of your harvest, maybe 10 to 12%, goes straight to a foreign empire. Then, you also have to pay a flat tax just for existing. But it didn't stop there. The real pain came from the indirect taxes. Every time you brought goods to market, there was a customs duty. Crossing a bridge, there was a toll. Using a road, a toll. Selling a donkey, a sales tax. It was a web of payments that extracted wealth at every turn, funding Rome's military might and lavish projects far away. It's estimated that when you combined Roman taxes with the required Jewish temple taxes, a peasant family could be losing up to a third or even more of their total income. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a recipe for debt, poverty, and despair. Many lost their ancestral lands and were forced into tenancy or day labor, living on the edge of survival. This is the world Jesus stepped into. And this is why the tax collectors, the publicani, were so hated. They weren't just government employees. Rome outsourced tax collection to the highest bidder. These private companies would pay Rome a lump sum for the right to collect taxes in a region. Their profit, anything they could squeeze out of the people above and beyond what they owed Rome. This system incentivized extortion. Tax collectors were often local Jews, seen as collaborators with the oppressive Roman regime, profiting from the misery of their own people. They were symbols of greed, betrayal, and injustice. So when Jesus associated with tax collectors, like Zacchaeus and Matthew, it was scandalous. He was dining with the enemy, the very people enforcing the system that was impoverishing his community. But his message wasn't about endorsing the system. It was about seeing the humanity in everyone, even the most despised. When Zacchaeus encounters Jesus, his response is radical. He pledges to give half his possessions to the poor and pay back anyone he cheated 4 times over. This wasn't just a personal change of heart. It was a public act of economic justice, a direct reversal of the exploitative system he represented. And what about that famous line, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's"? This wasn't a simple command to pay your taxes. It was an incredibly clever answer to a trap. If he said don't pay, he'd be arrested for insurrection. If he said pay, he'd de-alienate his followers who saw the tax as a symbol of Roman idolatry. And oppression, the coin itself bore the image of the emperor, who claimed to be a god. By pointing to Caesar's image on the coin, Jesus acknowledges the reality of Roman power. Fine, he implies, this piece of metal belongs to Caesar's earthly kingdom, so give it back to him. But the second part of his statement is the revolutionary punchline, and to God the things that are God's. What belongs to God according to Jewish belief? Everything, the land, the crops, the people themselves, who were made in God's image. Jesus was subtly reminding everyone where their ultimate allegiance lay. You might give a coin to Caesar, but your life, your heart, your very being, belongs to God. He was shifting the focus from a political problem to a spiritual one, calling people to live by God's economy of generosity and justice, not Rome's economy of extraction and greed. So, the story of Jesus and taxes is far more than a debate about finances. It's a story of an oppressive empire, a people pushed to the brink, and a message of radical love and divine justice that challenged the very foundations of power. It shows us how economic realities can shape spiritual movements, and how a simple response can contain a world-changing idea. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.